I've lost all my friends today. They were not vicious people. They just wanted us to live happily. They were people who wanted humor to play a role in our lives. That was all. That was all. That's what they killed today. I just can't comprehend it.
Stéphane Charbonnier, the editorial director of Charlie Hebdo, once said, "I would rather die standing than live on my knees." He died standing today for the principle of freedom of expression. He was 47 years old, not married. He had no children, which he cited as one of the reasons he felt free to risk his life making jokes about the founder of Islam. 2 years ago, he told the LA Times, "I'm more likely to get run over by a bicycle in Paris than get assassinated." He also told the Times, "If one person is injured or killed, it doesn't mean all of France will be put on its knees. It's not Islam attacking France. It's one person attacking another person. That's all." Bernard Marie, an economist, was apparently visiting the magazine office today when he was killed. He was a frequent contributor to the magazine, writing under the name Uncle Bernard. He was 68 years old. Tonight, French police released the name of the other victims, who include Jean Cabou, a cartoonist who the French newspaper Le Monde called one of the giants of the genre. He was 76 years old. Bernard Verlac, a father of 4, said he's been drawing cartoons since he was 13 years old. He once said, "The best cartoons give rise to laughter, thought, and set off a certain kind of shame." He was 50 years old. Georges Wolinski was an 80-year-old cartoonist. In 2011, he said, "My job is to look for ideas. I've spent all my life looking for ideas, like a pig looks for truffles." The LA Times says Wolinski's drawings, quote, "encompassed a wide range of subjects, but he specialized in contemporary sexual mores with a focus on women and current affairs." When asked about death, he said, "I want to be cremated. I told my wife, you will throw my ashes in the toilet. That way, I will see your ass every day." Today, his daughter posted this photo of his office. Joining me now is Laura Haim, White House correspondent for the French network Canal Plus. Laura, I want to mention some of the other names that have just been released by French police. Michel Renaud, he was apparently a guest there at the magazine today. Franck D, it says he was a special protection service. That may have been the person who was guarding the officer who was killed first. And then Ahmed Merabet, a police officer, apparently himself Muslim. Laura, tell us about this magazine and its place in French media.
I cannot understand why there's so much horror, terrorism as against strike, journalism, and people who really wanted to change the world and who believed in freedom, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, freedom to be able to do whatever you want and to say whatever you want.
Laura, we see thousands of people in France today, in Paris, holding up the sign, Je suis Charlie. Was that the feeling? That I suspect it wasn't the feeling about the magazine before today.
It's the feeling that something has changed in France. I know that in the United States, you always see France as this beautiful country with a lot of women, wine, French cancan. This is completely over. And after today, it's more over than ever. France is facing a very difficult crisis about its identity, about terrorism, about very serious issues, about the far right, which is rising, about a Muslim population which does not have a job, which doesn't know how to do, about about young people who are going to Iraq, to Syria, and who are coming back to France to strike the French society. In the United States, you had 9/11. In France today, a lot of people are saying that it was a kind of 9/11 for the press, but also about freedom, against freedom, and against democracy.
Laura, what is your guess about what will be happening in France over the next couple of weeks in terms of a political reaction and a societal reaction to this?
I think we're going to see for the moment a lot of people united. Again, this is a shock, so you're going to see, like tonight, thousands of French people demonstrating. You know that French love to demonstrate. They're going to stand side by side to show to the world that the French people do not want this kind of terrorism in the street. Then you're going to have a lot of political questions. François Hollande, the French president, does not have good ratings at this moment. Is between 15 and 20%. The far right with Marine Le Pen is rising in the past months. People have a lot of anxiety about the Muslim population, as I said before, how they're going to be integrated and how this country is going to face terrorism. So in the days ahead, it's going to be a moment of grief, but also a moment of how are we going to resolve this crisis? What's going to happen next? And what are we going to do about terrorism and in the fight against terrorism?
Laura Haim, I'm very sorry about the attack that your country suffered today, and thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Coming up, how the American press has responded to these murders today. A former editor at The Onion will join me, and Ezra Klein is here to talk about what his website has dared to do today.